Yeah, Stewart injuries have not stopped them yet. They keep rolling. They still got a chance for the 1 seed if they can win this game. George Kittle is hoping to be a part of it. He has told reporters he is expected to play. He absolutely wants to. So the 49ers will monitor his progress on that ankle issue. It's a loaded frame, so not a high ankle. That's been the good news. Missed last week. He should be all systems go, assuming no setback today. I think they go for the kickoff. They got Trent Williams. This one I'm told is a little bit trickier because he is expected for the playoffs for the first round. It's assuming they have either the 1 seed or the 2, wherever they are. But this game is going to be
All right, what's going on? What's going on, everybody? Coming to you live from millions.co and YouTube. I'm your host, Tyler A. Gates. Welcome back to another episode of Tag Live 205 on Millions, where we give you the unraw, the unfiltered, and the most engaging sports content possible. If you have not already, please subscribe to the channel. As I love always doing weekday and weekend, coming from you from millions.co, YouTube, and Spotify. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Instagram at Tyler A. Gates. That is Tyler A. Gates. No spaces, no punctuations. Tag Loud 205 on Instagram as well. And subscribe to the Tag Loud 205 Talk Show on YouTube. TikTok is up. Snapchat is down. As always. Now, let's get live because NFL is the cream of the crop. We're going to talk about a lot of teams and how they're about to go about their offseason, but we want to get into these games. So, Panthers, Buccaneers, Tampa Bay, Carolina. That's the first game I really want to get into. Then I want to get into the dark alley match game of the Steelers Ravens. If you don't know what that rivalry is about, you're about to learn something today. And then finally, Seahawks 49ers. But first, before we even get into the NFL, I know a lot of people are going to want to hear me talk about it. So here we go. We are going to talk about the Georgia Bulldogs losing. And I fully understand that this was a revamp year for us. But it goes without saying how proud I am of this team. To be entirely young, to be extremely young like they are, and to win this amount of games with this young of a team. Kirby Smart proving once again why he's the best coach in college football by a mile. Gunnar Stockton, I respect him more now than I ever did. Not to say that I never respected Gunnar Stockton because he's a Georgia Bulldog. Of course, I'm going to respect him, but putting the respect on his name, rather, is what I really want to get into. Because we're talking about a quarterback who, when you're going to look at him, you're saying, man, he is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He's not going to go high in the draft, but he's a glue guy. Somebody that you're looking at and saying, he could be the quarterback of my team. He could lead my team to the playoffs. Like a Stetson Bennett, right? Even though I feel like the Rams are not going to give him the keys to the kingdom, and I feel like the Rams are going to draft somebody else, but he's a guy that the Rams need to look at as the quarterback of the future. Hands down. And 39-34 was the score. Trinidad Chambliss played like a dude last night who had nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. And I'm looking at this kid who played Division II ball. I'm looking at this kid who came from Division II to the SEC, the hardest conference in college football. I'm looking at this dude who went from D2 to D1, and then I'm asking myself, what did we do wrong to not contain this individual? What if we could have done better to obtain him running against us? What could have we done better to say, man, I honestly don't know what we could have done better, honestly. And I'm looking here on my stats. 362 yards. That's how much Trinidad Chambliss threw for. 362 yards, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to be completely honest with you when I say this. There is no reason the Georgia Bulldogs defense should have gave up that amount of points to this team. Trinidad Chambliss looked like Kyler Murray in his prime. Not to say that he's not in his prime, but Kyler Murray when Kyler Murray's on, Kyler Murray's on. We had Trinidad Chambers look like Russell Wilson during the Super Bowl era, during the Legion of Boom era in Seattle. We had Trinidad Chambers looking like a young Steve Young on certain plays. We had Trinidad Chambers look like Doug Flutie on the last play. We had Trinidad Chambers looking like a dude who could lead an NFL franchise to a Super Bowl. I can't believe it. Honestly, I can't. This is a dude who we say, okay, maybe he can go to the NFL. Maybe he can be a starter. Well, we said the same thing about Russell Wilson back in the day. Kyler Murray now. You make these smaller quarterback comparisons. Trinidad Chambers is that guy. I'm not going to take anything away from him, but we should have contained him more than what we did. I'm sorry. So the question for me today, before I move on to the next topic, is did Ole Miss just reveal themselves as the true college football playoff contender, or are they still a pretender? I think they're a contender. When you take down the top dog in the nation, in the Georgia Bulldogs, no pun intended, you are widely considered to be a top dog in college football. If you take them down in the playoffs, I think more eyes are starting to be on you. More scouts are coming to see you. Not to say that they're not seeing you, because they scout every team. But they're looking at you now more than ever. More than ever. The college football landscape just flipped. And speaking of things flipping, right? I think Zachariah Branch, I think it's his last game at Georgia. I think he's going to go to the NFL. I think a lot of guys are going to go to the NFL. Dalen Everett, number 6, my guy. Gunnar Stockton, he may contemplate it, but if he stays another year, once again, we have Ryan Pluxley as a backup. Hey, we know how to produce some decently good quarterbacks. So, moving on. Panthers, Buccaneers, the rivalry renewed. I want to talk about how this is going to be one of the best, if not one of the best games you could play. Carolina, without a shadow of a doubt, has one of the best teams in the NFL offensive-wise. You can't stop that. But what you can say about them is that their path back to relevancy has been one for the ages. I am a Falcons fan. You guys know that. Winning in. This is the scenario that we look at. Carolina versus Tampa Bay, a rivalry with a lot of bad blood in it for the NFC South. All 4 teams really have bad blood with each other. We all have beef with each other, right? But the implications make the NFC South even that more unbearable, right? Beyond the standings, this game is about to be about bragging rights. Beyond the standings, this game is all due to bragging rights. Whoever has the bragging rights in this game is going to go to the playoffs. Whoever has the bragging rights after this game is going to win the division. Whoever has the bragging rights after this game going into next season, that is who we're going to look at and say, maybe they can win the NFC South. Now, the Falcons are still, without a shadow of a doubt, the most talented team in the NFC South. But when are the Falcons going to say, let's stop falconing and let's actually go win this thing? Because I'm sorry, Carolina cannot be at the top of the division anymore after this season. They might get it 1 or 2 more seasons, but I don't see that happening with Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Michael Penix Jr. when he comes back healthy, Jesse Bates, Xavier Watts. I don't see that happening. AJ Terrell, one of the best cornerbacks, underrated cornerbacks in the NFL. Terrell Island is a real thing. Hello. Can't forget about Billy Bowman, Jalen Walker, and James Pierce. Can't forget about those, right? We have one of the best guards in the NFL, if not the best guard, in Chris Lindstrom. Jake Matthews, a for surefire Hall of Famer. Tyler Algier, one of the best backup running backs in the NFL. A straight bruiser. I can keep going down the list, but this is not about me and the Falcons. This is about Carolina and Tampa Bay. So the question of the day is, can Carolina rediscover the identity against a veteran Bucks team? Can they rediscover, Carolina, a identity that they once had? They lost and gained back against a Bucks team who was reeling, struggling on their heels right now. And I think they can. When you talk about the Carolina Panthers, they're led by Bryce Young. Bryce Young was the number 1 overall pick in the 2023 NFL draft. We all know that. And it took him a while. It took him 2 years to get right. A lot of people say that young quarterbacks, they need to come out the gate right now. Everybody's not a CJ Stroud. Everybody is not a Jaden Daniels. Everybody is not a Caleb Williams. Everybody is not a Drake May. Everybody is not a Michael Vick. Everybody is not a Matt Ryan. Everybody is not a Tom Brady. You know what I mean? Everybody is not a Ben Roethlisberger, a Phillip Rivers, a Drew Brees. Everybody's not a Lamar Jackson, a Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. You can't expect it. It's always going to be 1 year or maybe 2 years to really see where these quarterbacks go, right? Let's look at some angles here. The Panthers offense sputtered against the Seahawks. I mean, I had to turn the game off because I couldn't sit there and watch Carolina continue to destroy themselves. Bryce Young struggled, obviously, but the veteran poise of the Buccaneers they're gonna take that, twist that up, and crumble it up if you do not address things on the offensive line. They're gonna crumble the Panthers if they cannot block for Bryce Young. That's the number one thing they got to do. Ted McMillan and Xavier Legette, they must get open. They have to get open. Not to say I don't trust Chuba Hubbard or Rico Dowdle against that run defense in Tampa Bay, but when you have a 6'5", 6'4" wide receiver in Tedero McMillan, and then a straight X factor in Xavier Legette, and then you have a third string wide receiver who some may even say is one of the best wide receivers on fantasy, and Jalen Coker. I mean, guys, the Carolina Panthers have a good chance to make the playoffs. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Even as a Falcons fan, I want to see Carolina win this division today. I want to see Carolina win and actually go to the playoffs again. I want to see Carolina good again. You know, Cam Newton was the last time Carolina was good. The Superman, the dances, the 15-1 season, the Super Bowl, even though they lost, but still the Super Bowl run. I want to see Carolina good again. I do, honestly. But what is it going to take for them to make the playoffs? What is it going to take for them, if they get into the playoffs, to kick back into that Cam Newton type of era? Get the swagger back. And that's what Carolina did. Not only did they go back to their old logo on the field, but they got their swagger back. I mean, look at how they're walking. Look at what they're wearing. They're wearing the black jerseys more than ever. They have their swagger back. Turnovers in the red zone execution will likely decide this game. Baker Mayfield, listen and listen good. I understand that Tampa Bay has been reeling on their heels for the past couple of seasons. I fully understand that. Tampa Bay needs to win this game on a bunch of levels. If Tampa Bay can sit there and thump their Bible and say, you know what? We're going to bank on us winning the division. We're going to bank on the Falcons because we can't do it ourselves. Well, guess what? The Falcons can't help you this season. We helped you in past seasons. We can't help you this season. If it's anybody we're helping get into the playoffs, it's the Panthers. There could be a potential four-way tie in this division. That's why I say this is the worst division in football. We know the Falcons are beating the Saints on Sunday, so we don't even have to do that. You know, we go demolish them going out. I mean, because the Falcons are deemed to make some changes. I mean, it's going to happen. So if Carolina wants to shock Tampa Bay, by the way, Bryce Young's going to have to kick back his Alabama days. And the X factor in this game for me on offense is Xavier Legette. And on defense, J.C. Horn, do not get a pass interference. This defense is led by you and Derrick Brown. I need to see Derrick Brown get a sack. I need to see J.C. Horn at least with one interception. and a couple of deflections and locking down people, because they say JC Horn Island is a thing too. Haven't heard of it, but they say it's a thing because Drake London apparently has visited there many times. And we're talking about free hotel, not pay, free hotel, resorts, fun, and a lot of food apparently. And he's welcome there anytime, apparently, because he just cooks JC Horn every time he sees him. So don't let Mike Evans be. I understand Mike Evans is a future Hall of Famer, one of the best wide receivers in the game and of all time, but don't let him cook you like this. And Chris Godwin, they have wide receivers that you can be scared of, be very afraid of Mike Evans, obviously be very afraid, but I'm not looking at it like, what I will be scared of for Tampa Bay is that doggone Cade Otton. If they get their tight end involved, this one's going to be over very quick. Tampa Bay has shown people that when they get their tight ends involved in the game, they're hard to stop. They're hard to stop. So I have Carolina winning this game in an upset. Tampa Bay, it's time. It's time for you guys to let go of the division. It was a good run, but I just don't see it. It's Carolina's time now. It's Carolina's time once again. I mean, obviously, we still run a division. Falcons rise up, but it's Carolina's time. It's Carolina's time. Let's get into this Pittsburgh-Baltimore rivalry. It's the dark alley match. Now we turn to one of the better games. Call it a battle of the dark alley. Two blue-collar defenses, but two physical offenses in a rivalry that's also going to get personal. So my question of the day to you guys is, which team will seize the momentum down the stretch? Baltimore's discipline, or will it be Pittsburgh's veteran leadership? Now, I'm going to go off on a limb here and say that Baltimore and Pittsburgh are both fighting for their franchises right now. They're fighting for their lives. Their head coaches especially. I don't think Mike Tomlin gets fired. I think Mike Tomlin leads under his own good grace. I think John Harbaugh, he needs to go. I think it's time. And I believe the whole sports media world can agree on this one. Baltimore, you have had one of the greatest quarterbacks of his era and of all time in Lamar Jackson, and you still couldn't do anything with him. Derrick Henry, one of the better running backs of his generation and of all time, couldn't do anything with him. I mean, he's only been there a year and a half, 2 years, so I get that reasoning. Zay Flowers, underrated wide receiver, but he's small. So like a Rondale Moore type of wide receiver, maybe a Wayne Gretzky, not a Wayne Gretzky, maybe a Santonio Holmes is who he reminds me of a lot. But at the end of the day, the Ravens' balanced attack is going to be their calling card. If they cannot seal the deal in the trenches with running the football with Derrick Henry and him not fumbling, Baltimore is losing this game. Lamar Jackson cannot save y'all once again. I can give you a rundown of playoff games or Week 18 games in general that Lamar Jackson had tried to save the Baltimore Ravens and it did not work. Let's start off with Baltimore versus Tennessee all those years ago. I know you remember that when Lamar Jackson went up against the Tennessee Titans and lost to Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans. I know you remember that. And let's talk about the following year. Baltimore, what happened? If you know, you know. Can't beat Patrick Mahomes. Can't beat Josh Allen. It's bad. And to see how Baltimore recuperated and regained their trust in everybody after going 1-5 near the trade deadline, yeah. I give them props. But it's time to blow it up. Lamar Jackson would fit great here in Atlanta. He would fit great in a lot of places. But I just feel like the Baltimore Ravens cannot go without Lamar Jackson and vice versa. When you think about Baltimore, you're thinking about Ray Lewis and Ed Reed first, and then Lamar Jackson and Joe Flacco. That's who you're thinking about first in terms of Ravens lore. That's who you're talking about when you're talking about Baltimore sports in general. Look at what Ray Lewis did for the Ravens. Brought him a Super Bowl, 2 Super Bowls to be exact. I need Lamar to step it up and act like you want to actually win against the Steelers, because they pretty much have owned the Ravens for the Ravens' whole existence, except for these past couple of years since Lamar Jackson got there. The turnover margin can decide this game on a whole bunch of levels. Aaron Rodgers, listen and listen good. Do not throw any more interceptions, please. You are already hanging on by a thread. The Steelers want to win a Super Bowl this year. And I said it when they got Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf and Jalen Ramsey. I said, look here. I firmly believe that if the Steelers can make the playoffs, they will be Super Bowl contenders. But because of their age and because of who they're playing against, I don't think the Steelers now have a good chance to win. When these two meet, it is not just a game. It is one of the most physical games of the year. Ask Troy Polamalu, ask Hines Ward, ask Anquan Bolden, ask Torrey Smith, ask Joe Flacco, Ben Roethlisberger, Ray Rice, and Rashard Mendenhall, who was Ray Lewis broke his collarbone in that game. If you remember watching that game, Rashard Mendenhall's collarbone got broken. Okay? Ben Roethlisberger's nose looking like Lombard Street. That game against Baltimore those years ago, I know you remember. Antonio Brown having that one-handed catch on the sideline against Jimmy Smith. I know you remember. We need some more memorable moments like that. Ravens Steelers AFC Championship game. Troy Polamalu interception. I know we need some more moments like this, Ravens and Steelers. Help us out. And now, to move on to one of the most weirdest rivalries in sports, the Seahawks and the 49ers. Listen and listen good. Ravens are going to win against the Steelers. I have the Ravens winning. But Seahawks 49ers, who really runs the West? And I'm gonna say it off the rip. I believe the 49ers have always ran the NFC West. But if we're talking about recency bias here from fans and journalists alike, you got to give the Seahawks the edge. Russell Wilson, Richard Sherman, Bruce Irvin, Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, Marshawn Lynch, beast mode, DK Metcalf, Doug Baldwin. It's there. Who really controls their own destiny in this NFC West? Who really does? The Rams are probably the best team in the division by far. But to see how the 49ers, once again, like the Ravens did, how they came back and solidified their record to even get to this point has been remarkable. That's what happens when you have one of the best running backs in the league in Christian McCaffrey. That's what happens when you have Brock Purdy on your team, an underrated quarterback, I might add. This is what happens when you have one of the greatest tight ends of his generation in George Kittle. This is what happens when you have one of the best offensive tackles of his generation in Trent Brown. You find ways to win. This is what happens when you have one of the best linebackers in the league. Of course, he's injured, but Fred Warner. So you find ways to win, but the 49ers are fighting for their position, and they're fighting for a change of direction here. They're also fighting and clinging on to contention for the playoffs. Now, I'm pretty sure they're going to make it, but the 49ers are not going to go anywhere past the first round. So let's go to nip that in the butt right now. I will be shocked if they make it past the first round. If Seattle is the defender of the West, can San Francisco rise above and take control? That's the question of the day. If Seattle is the defender of the West, apparently, can San Francisco rise up and take control? No, it's not happening this year. This is Seattle's division this year. The Rams, they fell apart against the Falcons. Go look at it. I thought it was their division until Matthew Stafford reintroduced himself to the Falcons. Talking points here. Seattle's winning streak and defensive dominance is going to be key. When you have a Devin Witherspoon, when you have a Leonard Williams, when you have one of the most underrated defensive players of his generation in DeMarcus Lawrence. When you have a defensive-minded head coach in Mike McDonald, I think you're going to win a lot of games. When you have Reek Woolen, a.k.a. Tariq Woolen, when you have one of the best secondaries in football, not named the Legion of Boom, I believe you can win the Super Bowl. I think the Seattle Seahawks can win the Super Bowl this year. But I'm going to tell you why they're not. Because let's look at all the NFC teams here who are in contention, all right? Let's look at the Eagles. Do we really think that A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jahan Dotson, do we really think that the Eagles are going to lose to the Seahawks offensively? Who's containing Saquon? Come on now. Let's look at the Rams even. Do we really think that Cooper Kupp is going to stun his old team? Let's think about it. And to add a little flavor to it, let's take it to the AFC. If they do get to the Super Bowl, the Denver Broncos, the kryptonite for the Seattle Seahawks. Do we think that Russell Wilson trade is going to come back to hunt them? Do we think that Super Bowl win all those years ago, their first one in franchise history against Peyton Manning, is going to come back to hunt them if they do meet again in the Super Bowl, which I think will be an interesting Super Bowl, but a Super Bowl nobody wants. Let's be completely honest. We want to see something different. Seattle's different. Denver's different too, but we've seen that once. Well, we can see it again. We want to see a team who hasn't made it to the Super Bowl in years. We want to see a team who hasn't made it ever. I want to see Jacksonville in the Super Bowl. I've already said it. Jacksonville or LA. Get Herbert or Lawrence a ring, and I'm good for this year. But their opponents, give me Jordan Love. Give me Jordan Love or Caleb Williams. Packers and Bears NFC Championship game. I need it. 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 Plain and simple. The NFC seeding implications and confidence is going to be another thing that's worked into it here. We're looking at the stats here, but the 49ers offense and comeback capacity and how they're able to flip games around and come back, but they can't finish them off. Kyle Shanahan, yes, he came back against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but guess what? He couldn't finish it off. He was even up against the Chiefs and couldn't finish it off. Twice, to be exact. When we're talking about Kyle Shanahan, remember, he was the guy who screwed the Falcons in Super Bowl 51. He was the guy among those that coaching staff who was hated because of what happened in Super Bowl 51. Yes, he accepted the 49ers position long before the Super Bowl happened, but he took that curse with him. It's apparent. You went to the Super Bowl twice against the same team twice, and you lost to the same team twice, the same man twice, the boogeyman, Patrick Mahomes. Do we really think that they're going to go a third time in the Shanahan era this year? No, it's time to blow it up. I think it's time for a handful of teams to blow it up, and they should be at the top of the list. If they do not somehow win this year, I'll be shocked. But in the West, every snap feels like a playoff quarter. Every snap, every moment, everything counts in week 18, especially when you are in a winning scenario. You can not give any edge to any team. Any team. Even the ones outside the playoffs who control your destiny. Final thoughts here before we go. And Ole Miss, I don't think they're beating Miami. I'm actually rooting for Miami to win it all now. I wanted to see a Georgia-Miami or a Georgia-Ohio State college football semifinal. I think everybody wanted to see that. I don't think anybody wanted to see Ole Miss in there. But because of the way that Georgia played, and they got outplayed, they got outcoached, they got outsmarted, they got out-defended, they got outworked, they got outran. It was plain and simple. They were the better man. But they just shook up the college football tree. They shook up everybody's bracket. Everybody's bracket is done. Heather Dinich, shout out to her, college football analyst. Her bracket is gone after Georgia lost. Scooby Magaza, shout out to him, ESPN analyst. His bracket was broke. So Georgia essentially was everybody's pick to win the national championship. And we see how that happened. But Kirby Smart's going to be back next year, as I always say. Panthers, Buccaneers, Panthers. Panthers are going to win this game. They're going to find a way to pull it out. Ravens, Steelers, give me Lamar Jackson. Aaron Rodgers, I think this will be his last game tomorrow night. I don't think he comes back. And Seahawks, 49ers. This is pretty easy for me. I have a lot of friends who are Seahawks fans. I fully understand that you guys have an immense amount of pressure on you to succeed right now with the quarterback that you have, a MVP candidate in Sam Darnold. But give me the 49ers. Give me the 49ers because why? Why, you might ask? A guy named George Kittle still is roaming 49er faithful. A guy named Trent Williams is still on the team. A guy named Brock Purdy is still on the team. A guy who has never been brought up before on this show, Ricky Pearsall, is still on that team. And the future Falcon, who's not going to play at all, Brandon Ayuk, is on the team. Give me San Fran in a close game. Give me Purdy. Give me Purdy. BCB. If you know, you know. Football drama never sleeps. College football or NFL. This has been Tag Loud 205 Live on Millions. Thank you to Millions for allowing me to using their platform. This is also your premiere episode for NFL Saturday today. I am Tyler A. Gates. Make sure to stay tuned for more Tag Loud 205 on Millions. Everybody, thank you for watching and stay live.